15 years of planning, billions of dollars spent. And in the end, it comes down to a single vote inside a room in Switzerland. That is how a country earns the right to host the biggest sporting event on the planet. And most fans have no idea how insane this process actually is. Let's break it down. Hosting the World Cup is not just about building stadiums. It is a political war disguised as a football decision. Every bidding cycle starts years in advance. FIFA opens the door to its 211 member nations, and any country or group of countries can throw their hat in the ring. But here is the twist. Not everyone is even allowed to bid. FIFA has a rule that says a confederation cannot host back-to-back tournaments. So when Qatar hosted in 2022, that meant Asia was locked out of the next cycle. And when Russia hosted in 2018, Europe was locked out too. This single rule reshapes the entire race before a single vote is even cast. Once a country decides to bid, the real grind begins. They have to submit legal documents, financial guarantees, and infrastructure plans. Government leaders themselves have to sign what is called a government declaration, basically a formal promise that the state will back the tournament financially and operationally. FIFA then scores every bid on things like stadium readiness, transportation, hotel capacity, and commercial potential. If a bid fails to meet the minimum technical requirements, it gets eliminated before it even reaches a vote. This is exactly what happened in 2018, when the United bid, made up of the United States, Mexico, and Canada, went head-to-head with Morocco for the 2026 World Cup. The United bid promised massive stadiums, built-in infrastructure, and record-breaking revenue. Morocco offered something different, a compact, geographically tight tournament with short travel times between cities. When the vote finally happened at the FIFA Congress in Moscow, the United bid won with 134 votes. Morocco got 65. And just like that, three countries became the first ever trio to host a men's World Cup together. But the story does not stop there. For 2030, FIFA did something that had never been done before. They split hosting rights across 6 countries and 3 continents. Spain, Portugal, and Morocco will serve as the primary hosts, but Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay will each host a single opening match as a tribute to the very first World Cup, played in Uruguay back in 1930. So for one tournament, matches will kick off on 3 different continents before the bulk of the action shifts to Europe and Africa. It is the most geographically ambitious World Cup in history, and it shows how far FIFA is willing to go to turn hosting into a global spectacle rather than a single country's event. Now here is where things get genuinely controversial. For the 2034 World Cup, everyone expected another dramatic bidding battle. Instead, something strange happened. Saudi Arabia ended up as the only country that formally submitted a bid. No competition, no rival proposal, no dramatic vote count like the 134 to 65 split we saw for 2026. Just Saudi Arabia standing alone. FIFA's own confederation, rotation rules had already ruled out Asian bids for years, until suddenly they did not. And critics were quick to point out how convenient the timeline looked. Bidding windows were shortened, deadlines were adjusted. And by the time nominations closed, Saudi Arabia was the only serious option left standing. At an extraordinary FIFA Congress, all 211 member associations approved the decision by acclamation, meaning there was not even a real vote, just applause. Human rights organizations have openly accused FIFA of enabling what they call sports washing. The idea that a country can use global sporting events to reshape its international image while avoiding scrutiny on issues like labor rights and civil freedoms. FIFA insists the process was fair, transparent, and followed every rule on the books. But when the so-called democratic process produces zero competition and a unanimous applause instead of a vote, you have to ask yourself a serious question. Is FIFA actually choosing the best host? Or is football's biggest prize increasingly decided by money, politics, and who has the most influence in the room? Because from Morocco losing a legitimate ballot in 2018, to 6 countries sharing hosting duties in 2030, to one single uncontested bid in 2034. The pattern is impossible to ignore. So here is the real question for you. Should FIFA be forced to guarantee real competition for every World Cup bid, or is it fine for money and political power to decide who gets to host the biggest tournament on Earth? Drop your take in the comments, because this conversation is not going